Hi, welcome back to the shed for a video that's been requested on several occasions and one that I've been meaning to make for quite a while now. Where I'm basically going to go through and show you every guitar that I've ever built. Well, the ones I've still got anyway. Okay, so we'll start at the beginning. My very first build, obviously a Telecaster, seems to be what everyone does. I'd always wanted a black Telecaster for years and years, couldn't really afford one, and I just thought, I wonder if I could build one. So I did a bit of research online and thought there isn't really anything there that I can't do, and the net result was a few months later I started to build this. It is made out of an old 4x2 that I took out of an extension that we knocked down, so I knew at that point it had been inside dry for a long time and it seemed quite good quality pine, so I used that. Obviously the original tellies were made of pine, so I didn't see a problem with that. This wasn't built as a relic, this is all natural wear. It has had quite a hard life. I played the hell out of this guitar for a long time. It really has got some miles under the belt and I absolutely love it. It is still one of my favourites. I play it quite regularly. It started out bog stock Telecaster, but it has been adapted over the years. It's now got a 5-way selector switch, which is in actually backwards, so that is the bridge position, but it wouldn't fit the other way because it's fatter than the standard switch. And it's also got a TBX tone control, which is like center detented, so the center is your standard setting and then you can just roll in more treble as it goes up to the full setting. Made mostly with Wilkinson hardware, so the bridge is a Wilkinson model, tuners are Wilkinsons, pickups are Tone Rider vintage Telecaster set, very nice sounding pickups. Obviously I've had to modify the neck pickup so that the 5-way selector switch works. All in all, I'm very happy with this guitar for a first effort. It's not perfect though, there are issues with it. There are one or two little bits on the neck that aren't very nice. I think the neck, I actually recut the neck profile because I'd left it a little bit chunky, and I believe I took a chunk out of the end of the headstock when I was routing it, so that doesn't look particularly brilliant. But all in all, it is a bit of a relic now, so I don't think those two little things matter quite as much as they might. This was built in around 2010, 2011. After that there was a little bit of a gap, and then I built another Telecaster. And regular viewers to the channel will probably recognize this one because even though it was my second ever build, I did actually bring this one back into the workshop and completely refinish it and do some modifications to it a few years ago. And the reason for that was there was just one or two little bits that I wasn't particularly happy with. The finish that I used on it was an amber that I'd mixed up myself and it was just a little bit too yellow for my liking, so we brought this back in and we used the proper butterscotch blonde lacquer for that, which I think makes it look much nicer. And the other issue with this was that the neck profile was a very chunky V shape, which was actually quite difficult to play for me. So we made that into a more friendly neck profile. Additionally, it was originally an Esquire. I've changed that. I added a Filtertron in the neck position just to make it a little bit more versatile. Very nice guitar. I like this one a lot. And generally, for my second build, I'm happy with it, even though I did kind of do some alterations to it later on down the line. I particularly love this piece of ash that the body's made of. I actually found this, it was the last body blank in a shop that was closing down, and it was totally black. It was a little bit cupped. I was in two minds whether to buy it or not, but then when I cleaned it up I found this kind of really nice grain pattern in it, so very glad that I did buy it in the end. Originally it had a very thin plastic pick guard on. I replaced that with a thicker Bakelite model, which I like. It's very nice. Other than that, it's pretty standard telly. Again, it's got a Tone Rider vintage Telecaster pickup in the bridge and a genuine Gretsch Filtertron in the neck. Now, my Telecaster period was quite long. I did make a few. I will just put that out there. This is the third of the 4 in a row that I made, so we are getting through them. We'll move on to something a bit different soon. Now, this one wasn't originally this funky metallic green. It started out life as a stripy maple veneer on the top with a binding, which I kind of liked, but then kind of went off and I thought I'd redo it. So it ended up in this configuration. It initially had a stacked humbucker in the bridge, but that broke, so that has been replaced by a cheap Wilkinson pickup for now. So again, a Wilkinson bridge. I believe it's a Tone Rider neck pickup. Standard 3-way switch, Telecaster wiring. This one has got quite a nice looking flamey maple neck on, and a really quite nice rosewood fingerboard. Again, the body on this is some old pitch pine that I picked up, which is why it had the maple veneer on the front. All in all, not my favourite guitar. Doesn't get a lot of love, doesn't get a lot of use, but still, it's a Telecaster, and I firmly believe there's no such thing as a bad Telecaster. However, I honestly believe the next one is a really good Telecaster. And long-term viewers might look at this and think, oh, I remember when he made that. But you don't, because this isn't the thin line that I built on the channel. This is its predecessor. This is Telecaster number 4, and this kind of dates back to about 2012, although it did take me a little bit of time to finish this one because back in those days I was very busy professionally, and the time to build too many guitars wasn't really a thing. I really like this guitar. Got a nice figured maple top on it, Sapele body, obviously a thin line, so it's hollowed out, 2 F-holes. Again, Wilkinson bridge, Tone Rider vintage telly bridge pickup. I'm not quite sure what the humbucker is, but I know it is a Tone Rider. 3-way toggle switch. Kind of a cross between a Les Paul and a telly, what I was looking for in this build. I like this guitar. I play it quite a bit. It is quite a nice guitar to play, and it's got a nice resonant sound to it with it being chambered. Starting to show its age a little bit. There is a little bit of checking developing in this lacquer, which I don't mind, to be honest. It is what it is. It's honest wear and tear. It's not some kind of contrived relicking. Pretty standard maple neck, rosewood fretboard. Now this one's actually got a traditional Fender style single action truss rod that's adjustable from the neck. To be honest, I've never adjusted the truss rod on this one. Just seems to work fine as it is. Tuners, I believe, are Goto. Okay, so that's probably enough Telecasters for the time being. So we'll move on to something slightly different, which is the first of my Les Paul Junior builds. Now this one hasn't really featured on the channel, but it is in fact the catalyst for the channel existing in the first place, in a way. As I said earlier, there was a point in my life where I was so busy professionally that building guitars just really wasn't a thing. So this one kind of got started in around about 2019, and it carried on into 2020. Now we all know what happened that year, and I suddenly had an awful lot more time on my hands. However, before we went into the first lockdown, I kind of saw what was coming, so I made sure that I had everything that I needed delivered and ready to go to finish this build, which I did in the kind of early stages of lockdown. And while I was doing that, I put some pictures up on a Facebook group for Les Paul Juniors. Kind of got quite a lot of interest. A lot of people said they liked the look of the thing. And one guy said, I'd love to hear what it sounded like. Can you put a video up? Which I did. I woke up the next morning and about 100 people had watched the video. And I thought, oh, hello, that's interesting. So it was basically the combination of a lot more people than I thought were going to actually watching the video, and me having a great deal more time on my hands than normal, that led to me actually starting the YouTube channel properly. So whilst that video was very, very cringy and is no longer on YouTube, it is the start of my YouTube journey. In terms of the guitar, it is all sapele, as you can see from that figure in the wood, but it is quite nice wood. It's a two-piece body blank. The neck is made out of the same piece of sapele as the body. It has a, again, Tone Rider Hot 90 P90 pickup. It's got CTS pots. The bridge is the wrong bridge. For any of you who know your juniors, you will understand that it shouldn't have this kind of lightning bar tailpiece on with this stud configuration. It's something I've always wanted to fix and to change, but never quite got round to it. But it does kind of work. The intonation is as good as you're going to get on a junior. It has an ebony fretboard, just normal dot markers, really quite chunky frets, and it plays absolutely beautifully. The only issue with this one is I didn't kind of put as much neck angle on as I probably could have done, so everything sits very low to the body. There isn't a huge amount of adjustment on the neck, which means if I wanted the action to go any lower than it currently is, I would be stuck. Happily, I'm quite happy with the action where it is, so that's not really a big issue. And this is the last of the guitars that you won't recognise if you spent a lot of time on my channel, because the next one is the guitar that realistically started it all for me on YouTube, and that is the white SGjunr that I built for the very first Great Guitar Build-Off back in 2020. I came to the Great Guitar Build-Off very, very late. I think I had 6 weeks to complete the build, but I was actually planning on building this guitar for YouTube, but not just at that point. I had most of the stuff that I needed, and I just thought, you know what, I'm going to go for it. And I'm really glad I did, because it did make a huge difference to my kind of presence on YouTube and my channel. In terms of the guitar, it is obviously painted this white colour, so you can't really see what's going on, but it's sapele again. The wood for this guitar was actually rescued from a skip, and one point in its life formed part of the door frame to the boardroom at Nottingham Forest Football Club. They were going to chuck it out, and I rescued it, thinking one day I'll turn it into a guitar, which I obviously did. Pretty simple, pretty basic. A couple of CTS pots in there. Again, Tone Rider Hot 90 pickup. This had to be converted from soap bar configuration though, because they don't do this pickup in a dog ear. So basically I had to put on a dog ear style base plate and obviously change the cover. This is a Faber wraparound bridge, which is a very nice piece of kit. I do like those. It's just got a fairly standard rosewood fingerboard, dot markers. And that's about it for this one. However, it will always have a place in my heart as my first ever YouTube build, and it is something that I've played quite a bit in the last few years. It is a nice guitar. It's very resonant and absolutely screams through a cranked Marshall. There are a couple of things that I want to do to it. It needs some fretwork again, and I also want to redo this headstock and put one of my gold transfers onto it. I tried silk screen printing this, and I just couldn't get an ink that was strong enough. It just looks a little bit washed out and not very nice. Okay, so that's the first 6 of the builds. I'm going to leave this video here. If I did all of them in one go, it would just be an absolutely monster video. and to be honest, I don't really have time to do that whole thing right now, so I'll do it in installments. So watch out for the next part, which should be coming up quite soon. I'll put a link to the playlist for this build in the description, and in the next video, which will all be builds that have been done on YouTube, I will put links for all of those playlists in that description. But that's one for the future. So until then, don't forget to hit that like button if you enjoyed this, subscribe if you haven't already done so, and I'll see you soon. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye bye.